So today I am legitimately sick and I have completely lost my voice. So this is going to be an interesting video because I got nothing. Well, not nothing, but not much more than nothing. A couple days ago was really nothing. But anyway, got a couple comments from you guys. Thanks so much. Derek HMAR, commented, highest note he can hit in full voice is A sharp 4, which is da 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 ba. And that's basically the break between, I think, your low voice and your mid voice. So that kind of makes sense, especially if you're singing a little heavier, a little thicker. I'll talk about that in a second. And then also username PL2OW asked about low larynx. I think that's what you asked. Inhale. Oh, no. I'm sorry. Oh, geez. No, you made another comment about this idea of saying on an inhale to open up that space and get in touch with that lift in the soft palate. Incidentally, that also gives you a low larynx. No, it was YW6349, homie, or mademoiselle could be even. Excuse me. I have no idea. Interesting content. Thank you so much. I mentioned how you lowered larynx to create space. Yes, indeed. Yeah. So a low larynx is an important part of the messa di voce. I like to say the placement of the voice. I don't know if that's actually what the term they would use in talking about a low larynx. It's kind of a different thing. Messa is placement, or like it literally means table, but like where you place the voice. But I feel like your posture, the position in which you sing, your vocal posture, I like to call it, is part of that messa di voce. And we'll talk about those two things. So Derek and YW6349, we're going to talk about how to work on your upper range, how to negotiate that break into your middle voice and even your upper voice. See if I can demonstrate that today. And then also the importance of a low larynx. So let's talk about the low larynx first. First of all, having a low larynx is important. So I've talked about this idea before of chiaro scuro. Chiaro is bright, scuro is dark. And both are important. You want both when you're singing. You can't be all one or the other. Otherwise, you have a little bit of imbalance in the voice. And you certainly do hear professional singers who are like all, they're all bright or they're doing all this, which is very dark. And obviously, there's some mix of both. I really like to have both, and I like to focus more on the bright because it's really easy to go wrong with the dark. So if we're talking about low larynx, you have to be a little bit careful because you can actually use muscles, and I've done this, and mistakenly. I was, in my early career, I changed to baritone when I was in my mid-20s, and I thought, I have to be all deep and I have to make all this space and low larynx and all this stuff, and I used muscles probably in my tongue, maybe jaw a little bit too, and in the neck and throat, to achieve a kind of low laryngeal position, because to my ear it sounded right. But what that ended up doing was it really got me stuck in here, and it created too much pressure from above. Made my voice kind of heavy. I lost a lot of my top, and yeah. So you got to be careful. So low larynx is important. But it also has to be free. So ideally, you want the larynx floating in a low position. In other words, the voice is still free to move high, but because you have proper air pressure and messa di voce, placement of the voice, you will have a naturally low laryngeal position. So I would say don't worry about that too much. You can think about on the inhale. I like that idea of caw, by the way. Thank you to whoever commented on that. I couldn't tell your name either. But that is true. This idea of like the CAW, caw, that is kind of a good idea. But anyway, on the inhale, you can think of lowering the larynx, raising the soft palate. And this happens naturally. You almost don't have to do anything at all for this. It just happens naturally. Yeah, but you can think about it a little bit too. And as you're singing, you can think about trying to maintain that position, but truly, in my experience, okay, so whatever, this is like all our experiences are different. We're all individual. Excuse me. Oh my God. God. Oh, it's so bad. In my experience, it's more important to focus on the bright, to focus on keeping it high, light, bright, forward, all those things. So, because that'll basically, you can go wrong that way too, but like it's less damaging than this kind of depression that can happen if you're focusing too much on a low larynx. I would say maybe idea of open throat is more important. And I think I saw a recording of Pavarotti talking about the importance of an open throat and a low larynx. Let's hear what he has to say.
This must go down profound, deep. The singer must do an exercise to let this impediment for a voice go down in the way then the column of air is free to come to the vocal cord and make the vocal cord vibrate.
There it is. All right. So I mean, from the man himself, one of the greatest singers of all time, talking about the importance of open throat. And that's because you want that beautiful, rich, let's say dark quality, like scuro quality to your singing. That's what gives it, warmth. It can't be all chiaro. I can think of at least one tenor who we've seen recently at the San Francisco Opera who is just all bright. And this is not uncommon, especially for tenors in higher voices. They're like really going on that chiaro, and they can get it done and they get hired and they get work and it's okay. You can do better focusing on chiaro than you can focusing on scuro. That's the lesson there. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question. Now, Derek, as far as negotiating your middle to your lower to your middle, you're right. So this is A sharp 4, as you said. A little hot on the mic there. Sorry. So how do you negotiate that? So probably the issue you're having is it's a little bit too thick and a little bit too heavy. And in order to get into your higher register, the middle voice and the upper voice is basically the same. The upper voice, through the passaggio into your head voice, that is probably the more challenging transition. Like this one, people can fake it. If you have a little bit of facility, it could be you're a bass, you're a much lower voice type, and you don't have the facility through the mid-range that maybe a higher voice like a baritone or a tenor would have. But the concepts are the same, and it just gets higher. It gets harder as you go higher. But essentially what has to happen is you need to get on the thin edges of the chords. You need to take pressure off of the chords. So if you're too down on it this way, or if it's too out the mouth, it's too thick. You're singing on too much of the meat of the chords. And you need to figure out a way to relieve pressure on that so the chords can relax, and then you can vibrate just on the thin edges of the chords. And that's it is tricky. It takes a lot of practice. But what I like to teach is, first of all, we work on this idea of placement, messa di voce. So getting the voice above. So focusing, you take your breath, on your breath, you have that nice lift of the palate and the larynx naturally lowers. So you create that space and you create height, Importantly, this is really important. To get on that thin edges of the chords, you need a little bit of stretch, right? You need a little bit of height on the voice. So okay, so maybe I can demonstrate here in this video. So this is just speech level. I'm just talking, everything is just relaxed, larynx is not low, palate is not high. These two things work in opposition. So now what happens if I engage and I speak? And I speak where I sing. You hear there's like a little bit of, it's a different quality of sound, It's a different quality of sound, and that's where you sing. So try to get in touch with that. In order to negotiate this break here, you're gonna need a little bit of that stretch to get above the chords, to relieve pressure here, get on the thin edges. You can work in falsetto. That's also helpful. So this may be low for your falsetto, I'm not sure. Maybe do a scale. Maybe it's a little nicer to the ear. And I'm purposely keeping it light. And it's not exactly full voice, but it's good training because this is already starting to train these muscles of lengthening and stretching of the chords, the cracothyroid it's called. So I start to transition into real voice, full voice, let's say, from the falsetto. Ooh, yeah, boy. La voce is so thick. Speaking of which, guys, I had the worst sinus infection and cold ever. I mean, it's been like 5 years since I've been that sick. Oh my God. And it wasn't even like body sick. It was like sick in the head. The voice was just like nothing. Let's see, this past Saturday, I had a dress rehearsal for a concert and then a performance of Carmen. And by the end of the night, I was gassed. I even had to leave the performance early. I got halfway through it because I had some solo stuff. And then I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm out of here. Told stage management I'm out. And then the next day we had a concert, we had a performance, and I had nothing, literally nothing. I was just going to stand there and mouth the words. And then I thought, what's the point? You know, I could barely stand. I was so dizzy. So anyway, yeah, the voice is in rough shape, but she's getting back. So yeah, I hope that helps. I would love to demonstrate more. But that is a good concept for you, Derek. Yeah, think of keeping it light. Think of getting above. Yeah, singing up here. Ooh, ooh. The falsetto is really good because even though it's not your full voice sound, the idea is good. Like it puts you in the right place. It gets you well above here. Yeah, it gets you into your head. Which is really important. And the more you can kind of explore that transition between falsetto and full voice, the better off you'll be, because most likely what's happening is it's too weighty, it's too chesty, or it's just completely too forward, and you're not catching any of that air, any of that voice to go into your head range. So yeah, there it is, guys. I hope that helps. Get in touch, like and subscribe for more. And yeah, I got my email in my bio. So if you want to talk shop, or if you want to schedule a lesson, feel free to get in touch. Hope that helps. All right, talk to you soon. Bye.